Thompson, and welcome to another Xscape to Gaming. Today I'm going to kind of take it on the road with a rant, reminiscing about the old days of some of my most immersive, wonderful memories going back in time, and games that just had tremendous impact. That's all I could think about. Quite often while I'm driving, in fact, on the way to work, or quite often, my drives will take me out of town, so I have a lot of time to think while I'm driving, and I'll think about these old gaming memories, or think about games I'm looking forward to playing, or what I'm looking forward to seeing at E3, whatever it is. So today I want to talk about my memories. So going back to the early days, when I remember when I first got my first PS1 in particular, I had lots of wonderful immersive experiences on the Commodore 64 as well. But once the graphics got better with a Panasonic 3DO and the PlayStation, I just really knew that this is going to be a whole new era of immersion, of simulations, and just a fantasy of gaming experiences like never before. Even though I love the Super NES in particular, and played it for years, and then also really enjoyed my Commodore 64, but the PlayStation opened the portals to just real immersive fun. This is something that never got old for me. And I remember the first few PlayStation games, some of them were just fun, like Road Rash or Twisted Metal, or Agile Warrior was another one that I really liked. But quite often, a game would come around that would suck you in for massive amounts of time, and you were really excited. I mean, it went from, just being kind of a fun gaming experience to something that was a lot more immersive and adventurous. You really felt part of a big adventure. And that's what I loved about a game like, let's say, Myst. When the original PC game Myst came out, I never played it on the PC, but I bought it for the PlayStation 1. I knew nothing about the game. The little booklet that gave you some basic directions on the point and click inside the game package, but really nothing that gave you any indication as to what the story was, what you're supposed to do. You're just kind of dumped into this world, and you had to figure it out for yourself. I mean, today everything's got to have a story, you got to have directions, you got to have a tutorial. This game had none of that. And again, there was no internet to go on if you got stuck. It was a puzzle game, and almost, like I've mentioned before, almost a religious experience. I mean, it really was just very magical, mystical. You slowly go through, and you just kind of walk, you point and click, and then the static pictures, it draws you into the next section. And you could easily miss little pathways and areas if you weren't careful where you look. So you'd find a direction, you'd put your little cursor on it, point, and it would take you to that next static shot. And eventually you'd have puzzles or things you'd interact with. You didn't even know what they did. You'd touch them, and all of a sudden something would happen, and maybe you wouldn't even see what it did there, but somewhere else on this island where Myst all took place, you'd see it. You'd see that it turned something on, or something all of a sudden was changed now, and then you'd go back and play with things. So I quickly, kind of on my own, just got a little notebook and started taking notes and trying to figure the puzzles out, and it really was a wonderful game. And Myst was one of those early, super immersive experiences that I will never, ever forget. Very, very special. In fact, I recently downloaded it on the PlayStation Network for my PS3. Not long after that, they came out with this, Duke Nukem 3D, which I played on the PC, and also on the PlayStation 1, and really enjoyed it. That game is quite immersive, too. Just being with a first-person perspective was one of the first games I played, where you could really just interact with the environment, the future of, being in LA with this alien invasion, these alien bastards taking our women, and I really liked the game. It was very fun. Well, they came up with a third-person shooter that was called Duke Nukem Time to Kill. Now, this game was unbelievable. I mean, it took you back in time. You kind of dumped in the beginning, some bad stuff has gone down with the aliens, and you got to figure it out. You got to stop time, because it's ruined the future. So you have these portals, you can go back in time to the Old West, or the medieval times, or the Roman times, the gladiators, and it was really a well-done and immersive game that I never get tired of. I played that game probably 4 or 5 times all the way through, including the hardest settings, and really had a wonderful time with it. I can't tell you how much I love Duke Nukem Time to Kill. Land of the Babes is a good follow-up. It also was pretty immersive, but it just didn't have the special impact of the Duke Nukem Time to Kill. Very, very wonderful. Even some of the jetpacks that you could wear going through these caverns and underground tunnels, swimming. It was done by the same game developer, 3D Realms, that did the wonderful early Tomb Raider games. But I just loved the Duke Nukem attitude, the one-liners, the whole deal. So it really was a wonderful game and one of my better, more immersive experiences in gaming early on. I mean, I had friends that would come over and that we'd take turns, fighting over the controller, just playing it well into the early hours in the morning. So that was one of them. Not long after that, early 2000s, you had the PS2 came out, and I actually bought it the day that Twisted Metal Black came out. This was another game that I played. I virtually didn't buy any other games for that console for I think at least a couple months, and I probably put in a good 4 months into that game. I just loved the game very, very much. It was really a wonderful experience, and you could play as the replayability value of it was fantastic, because you can go back and play as each of the characters and cars, and it just never got old. Just very dark, but very immersive, and quite exciting, really. I mean, it's something about, for that kind of an arcade action driving game, I really got lost in the twisted story. I wanted to see how each of the characters' stories develop. So it really forced you to replay it over and over again to try each of the characters and cars. And it's one of the things that I loved about it. That was a very special game. So next on the list was another early PlayStation 2 favorite, was Return to Castle Wolfenstein Operation Resurrection, which was the PS2 version of it that actually had a lot of extra missions, kind of an early prequel as to what led up to more of the PC version. Scenes in Egypt, underground with zombies and wonderful tunes, and very much, frankly, like Tomb Raider and a lot of these other wonderful games. Very immersive, grounded in World War II realism, like Call of Duty or, the early Medal of Honor that would come a little bit later. But it was really one of my first wonderfully immersive World War II first-person shooter experiences. I can't tell you, something magical about that game, the boss battles, just the music alone. I love the music in that Wolfenstein Return to Castle. Fantastic. Very incredible immersive experience. I never get tired of playing. In fact, I donated that one. Mark Bussler of CGR did a wonderful review of that. You can see that down in my donated favorites. But God, there's just so many wonderfully immersive games. Never get tired of Medal of Honor Frontline was another one. Oh man, I talk about World War II. It's right after Saving Private Ryan. We were all enthralled with that at the theater. That was one of the better, more contemporary World War II movies that we saw to date. So this Frontline kind of rode on the coattails of that wonderful game. And I really was just blown away by how fantastic it was. That kind of really catapulted me into the whole Medal of Honor series, which I loved so much. A little bit later on, we had 007 From Russia with Love, where they actually used the likeness of Sean Connery and Robert Shaw and many other characters. And I love that game so much. It really was, it kind of put you right into the universe of James Bond with the authentic music from the movie and the characters and the motion capture. It was one of the first games, kind of a licensed movie game, where they did it right, and they actually had the wonderful voice of Sean Connery and his likeness, and it just never got old for me. I mean, the jetpack scenes on that, and even the split screen with jetpacks was quite wonderful. That's a game that I played through a couple times and really trying to get 100% completion on it. Had a great time with it. This is a wonderful game of Immersion on my regular Xbox that I like very, very much. I'm trying to think what other games I like. You know what I really liked too also was Driver 3, which it had some flaws, had a lot of weird little bugs and things, but I really liked really liked Driver 3 quite a bit as well. I thought it was well done, a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it very, very much. It was one of those games that kind of like a GTA game, but it deviated a little bit from Driver 1 and 2, but it allowed you to walk around a little bit and interact with guns and what have you, which I thought was quite nice. I also think that, in fact, talking about Grand Theft Auto 3 was another one that was just fantastic. I bought that the day it came out. I never played, Grand Theft Auto 1 or 2. Certainly knew nothing about the franchise or Rockstar Games at the time. I took a chance on it. Didn't know if I'd like it. Really, I had no idea. I didn't know it would be a AAA game that would literally, kind of reshape sandbox games as we know them today. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic. One of the most immersive open world experiences I had ever had on the PlayStation 2. I just never got tired. I mean, I would even you get bored with it and find things to do. I enter the codes for the riot mode, which I love very much. I'd go to the third island, get one of the little dodo planes with no wings, drive it all the way to the first island, the highest hills, fly to the lighthouse, fly actually over the rooftops of the buildings on the first island. Never got tired of it. This is a game that just fantastic immersion. Not long after, we had the Vice City game too, which I just absolutely loved. In fact, I liked it even more than Grand Theft Auto 3. Wonderful story, wonderful characters. I'm a big Miami Vice fan, so it was a no-brainer for me. That game, I got 100% completion. Went back and redid every single, side mission, found every hidden package, collectible. I mean, I can't, who knows how many hours I put into, Grand Theft Auto 3 and Vice City. I mean, really over the top. What other wonderful games of immersion did we have? Vice City. And then, of course, talking about Rockstar Games, the wonderful Manhunt. Manhunt, I mentioned before, really liked, was more of a fear-based survival horror experience that really was fantastic. I just really was totally blown away with the immersion and the fear that was really accurately portrayed and captured in that game. I think you really can't beat for survival horror in an unusual setting, kind of like the Nicolas Cage movie 8mm, really fear-filled, based on Brian Cox and a wonderful voice. That was one that I remember the first night I played it. I think I played it till the sun came up, like 7:30 the next morning. I was very immersed. I mean, it only took me 2 days then to beat the whole game, and then I played it on the hardcore mode after that. Another wonderful experience that was quite immersive. Getting on to the next gen consoles, looking at the PlayStation 3. I remember one day that I went down to my father-in-law's. In fact, I was going to paint the whole inside of their house, do some wallpaper removal, and so I was looking forward to it. And he just got it. He had a PlayStation 2, which we had played a lot of really cool games. In fact, that Indiana Jones game of Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb, he actually gave me. We played it at his house. He gave it, and then I replayed it again when I got home. It was a fantastic, immersive experience that I'll never forget as long as I live. Well, he told me, he goes, "Hey, Dean, guess what? I just got the new PlayStation 3. This is when it first came out. I was really excited." And he just bought also, I had never seen one of these HD, Samsung, 120 hertz TVs. I still had my old Hitachi 32-inch analog TV, which I thought was, pretty fantastic at the time. So I went down there and was blown away with this giant 52-inch Samsung TV. And then he says, "Dean, you've got to see this game. It's called Uncharted." Hold on a second. He said, "It's called Uncharted, and it's fantastic." So I came down, was looking forward to it. I worked hard for about a week on that job, got the job done, but every night we would take turns playing Uncharted. We set up my own profile, I went through, and I'd play some levels, and he'd play some levels. Man, we had a lot of fun with the game. I can't tell you how much fun that one, and I think it was Tomb Raider Underworld was another one that we played around that same time. Well, I was ready to go back. He was going to drive me back to the airport to fly back to Northern California, and all of a sudden this weather front came in. We get snowed in. I mean, bad. There were no flights going in and out. You couldn't even go down the mountains from the high desert down the mountains where we lived and go down to the airport. So I was forced to stay there another 5 days. So this is when I really said, "You know what, I'm going to finish this Uncharted." So I just had such a wonderful time of immersion going through this Uncharted game. It was fantastic. I can't tell you how much fun I had. And just the whole time my mouth was hanging open with the graphical detail. I had never even seen the Xbox 360. The PS3 really was my first introduction to the the current gen systems that we have. And between that and his 52-inch Samsung, I really was blown away. I had no words for how awesome it was, and I will never forget that as long as I live. How wonderful that Uncharted game was, and the Immersion, and the actually the Underworld game of Tomb Raider as well. So in 2009, Wolfenstein comes out. And I actually, would love the Wolfenstein Return to Castle so much. I said, I've got to get an Xbox 360. Red Ring of Death or no Red Ring of Death, I got to do it. And I'm glad I did. I should have gone a long time ago, but it is what it is. So, I get the game. This is supposed to be, I guess a reboot of, the franchise. I didn't know what to expect. I had seen a couple screenshots on the internet. This is kind of when I was first getting on the internet. So I really didn't know how to, even go and search for things on the internet very well. And I just seen a few things on it. Thought I was just really captivated by imagination. Couldn't wait to play it. Well, God, what an unbelievable experience. I mean, I thought that, the fantastic immersion of, Wolfenstein Return to Castle was good. This one really took the German chocolate cake for immersion in the graphics. And what's ironic is I went out the same week and bought a brand new Samsung 120 hertz, 46-inch TV. Because my old analog TV burned out. I mean, literally, to the week before I got my Xbox 360, just went out one day and that was it. I mean, I got exactly 15 years out of it. It would be very costly to fix it. And by now, there's no excuse for not getting one of these, wonderful new LCD TVs or what have you. So that's what I ended up doing. And I'm glad I did, because that even aided in the immersion. God, between the new TVs and these, current consoles that we have right now, I couldn't believe how fantastic the immersion was. I couldn't believe how wonderful the escapism was. I mean, really, you felt like you were really there. So now I'm like, God, I wonder what other great immersive games are out there and games that I can play. So I was just enthralled. I think I got Full Auto was like the next game that I got. It's not really an immersive game, but a lot of fun. And I slowly started buying a couple games. Some of them had already been out for a while. The price had dropped. But man, I had a lot of fun with that game. Wolfenstein, played it over and over. Not long after that, the game had already been out for a while. I finally broke down and bought Grand Theft Auto 4, which I have some issues with, but just for a wonderful sandbox game, you really can't beat it. It's so much fun. I've actually only completed, I think, 60% of the game. I got a little frustrated with a constant cell phone ringing, and being interrupted to go play darts or bowling, or take some girl and go dating. But I love just the immersion of driving around, getting into police chases, looking at the wonderful detail, going on shooting sprees, finding those hidden collectibles and rooftops and inside buildings, what have you. So much fun. It's one of my early, wonderfully immersive memories of my Xbox 360. Again, the game had been out for a while, so I think I picked it up fairly cheap. These are wonderful games. Another Xbox game for the 360 that came out that I really loved and was really surprised. I had played the first Mafia on the regular Xbox, which the PC version was really far better and superior, but I still enjoyed it in the Xbox, had a lot of fun with it. I just liked it. It was kind of an interesting open world game, grounded with a sense of realism, with some of the cars and the time period correct, clothing and characters and weaponry and all that. But when the Mafia 2 game came out, I really was blown away. I really thought it was fantastic, wonderfully immersive, and just a world that I wanted to explore. It has some fairly linear progression through the stories and missions, but I liked it overall. I thought that it really offered quite a bit. So, and again, you could go shopping for clothes, kind of like Grand Theft Auto 4. You'd upgrade your cars. Wonderful ways you could ditch the cops and change your license plates and modify your cars, and wonderful interiors and within the environments, your safe houses that you go to. The story was fantastic. I had like a good solid week off, and man, that was one of my finer current gen immersion experiences. Was a Mafia 2. Really fantastic. Can't tell you how much I loved it. Another game that I'm looking back on, just from last year, that just probably was one of my favorite immersive experiences, was this wonderful LA Noire, which I actually pre-ordered early on and got it, even got the season pass, all the DLC, everything. But because at the time, again, usually when Rockstar would come out with these games in the spring, like Red Dead Redemption was another one that was quite immersive, I also liked, but never got to finish. But they always come out right when I'm busiest, which is like the spring going into summer. I mean, I'm working 7 days a week. Sometimes I'm putting in, super long days. And I just don't have the time to really put in those all-nighters like I'd like to. Sometimes I'll do it, but then I really pay the price next day or so. So I've learned it. Sometimes I'll just wait. I'll buy the game, and I know that it's great. I see the reviews. I know everyone's having a ball with it. But for whatever reason, I just kind of will hold off and wait on the game. It's not worth, just playing a small portion of it and kind of missing that immersion. To me, it's when you can really put in the quality time into these games that it becomes fun. So, God, I had a fantastic time with LA Noire. I just, each case, and even the ones I struggled with, I would go back and redo the whole case from the beginning, try different outcomes and answers. I had a tremendous amount of fun with that game, and it really just changed my view of this motion capture thing. At first, I didn't know whether I liked it or not, but I really was sold on it. It's very unusual, and just the world of immersion. I lived in LA for years and loved Los Angeles, loved the history of LA, and I thought that what they did with LA Noire by capturing the spirit and the feeling of the late 40s, and the police, and unfortunately, it was a fairly corrupt police department at that time in that period with the gangsters and everything that was going on. And I think that they really captured that and got that part of the game right. The story was fantastic. I went on these hunts for all the collectibles, the film reels, and the Hollywood locations, and just really found the immersion superb in that game. I can't tell you how much fun I had. It's one of my finest experiences looking back, even recently, of immersion. Say nothing of this new Tomb Raider. This new Tomb Raider, which I just did a review of. Really loved the game. Another game, like the first Uncharted, so wonderful. Just dripping with escapism, wonderful exploration. I like the platforming, the puzzles. These are games that you can't get enough of. So I'd like to hear what you found were your favorite games of immersion, of escapism, of all-nighters, games that just you couldn't wait to get back into and sink into. Now, for some, that's a Fallout 3, which I've only played just a few levels of with my nephew in the beginning. I really liked it. I'm anxious to get into that, and I just recently got this Half-Life 2 with the orange box, with the additional, episodes or whatever it has. And many people have told me how wonderfully immersive it is as well. And then, of course, I've got this, Metro 2033, which I'm quite anxious to play. I think that will be another delightfully immersive experience, and of course the new Metro Last Light that's coming on as well. So to me, gaming, I like the Super Nintendo games and platforming and wonderful games. Rayman Origins, I love these side-scrolling games and platformers. I got this new Enslaved platformer, which I'm anxious to try out. But to me, the games that have a wonderful story and that are a real adventure, where it's just filled with immersion, those are the ones that I tend to lean towards and gravitate towards the most. So, I hope you like this little rant. It was something that I've been wanting to do. I just think back in time of the games that really inspire me to be a better gamer, the games that I look forward to the most, to sinking that massive amount of time into for immersion. I mean, I got 35 hours, into less than halfway into Far Cry 3, which means that, God, I probably could put in 50 or 60 hours in it, I'm the type where I'll wring out every bit of fun out of a game and immersion, and I don't shy away from the collectibles or any of that stuff. I think that there's so much that you can do in video games that you can't do in real life. It takes you away from the frustrations and the pain of reality of work and business and dealing with customers, and sometimes even family can be a real pain in the ass sometimes and stuff like that. So I find the games are a wonderful interactive form of escapism, and something that I encourage for anyone. I think that the real hardcore gamers know this, and they like that same kind of experience, whether you're doing it on a PC, sitting at your desk, or doing it on the couch. Video games and immersion are really the height of escapism to me. enjoyed this little rant. Just kind of fun. I spend a lot of time behind the wheel, and I quite often will think about these games that I love and wonderful memories looking back. And I just wanted to share a few of these with you and the reasons why I found them so immersive. So thank you very much for watching.